Hi, this is Dana Martin. Welcome to my Worship Keys coaching video. Today we're going to talk about transitions during worship, from song to song and key to key. I'd like to ask you a question to start out with. Do you generally stop at the end of a song and then start the next song? Or do you like to keep the flow going between songs? Well, many worship leaders like to keep the flow going, but many times they don't know how, especially if there's a key change or maybe a rhythm change. And so today we're going to talk about that a little bit so that it'll be easier to flow between songs. And one of the things that I'd like to talk about is the fact that as the keyboardist, you are generally the lead instrument, so everybody is following you, the other instruments, the worship leader, the worship team, and the congregation. So you need to make sure that as you go where the next place is, that the people are with you. They're not behind you and they're not lost, that they can stay right with you. So today the transitions that we're going to talk about will make that easy for everybody to follow you. And one of the first transitions I'd like to talk about is song to song that's in the same key. So we're going to use the song Amazed and go into Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone, both in the key of D. So I'm going to end Amazed in the key of D and just keep that going. I'm going to end Amazed and go into my intro for My Chains Are Gone with very seamlessly without any pauses, okay? How seamless that was. I just ended one song and then I went right into my intro for the next song. And one thing you want to establish, make sure that the transition is long enough that people can follow you. It's not too abrupt so that they're not sure if you're there yet or when they're supposed to sing. Make it very obvious and smooth for everybody to be able to follow you well. The next transition I want to talk about is from one key to another. And I'd like to talk about going from Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone into the hymn Amazing Grace. And My Chains Are Gone is in D, but we want to go to G for the hymn Amazing Grace. Well, that's a pretty easy transition as well, because the chord that you want to hit to establish that a transition is coming, that's an anticipation chord, is the 5 of the key that you are going to. So if we're going to G, the 5 chord, G, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is a D chord. Well, we're already in D. So all we need to do is hit the D7. All the 7th does, the 7th chord means is that you add a C to the D chord. A 7th always is a whole step down from whatever the name of your chord is. Okay? So we're going to end My Chains Are Gone and go hit D7 and go into the key of G for the hymn Amazing Grace. Okay, did you hear that? I just ended my song that was in D. I hit a D7 and led you straight into the key of G. And I just hit a G chord, and I had to establish a different time signature because Amazing Grace is in the key of G. Is in the 3/4 time signature. So I had to establish that new time signature. So all I did was just start a 3/4 time rhythm in G, and I hit the G suspended. So it makes it easy for everybody to hear exactly where you were going. Okay? Now another key change that's fairly common is a half-step key change. And you can do this within a song, if you want to change keys inside of a song, or if you're going to go from one song to another, that's a half step difference. And what you want to do, again, is you hit your 5 chord of the key that you are going to. So let's say we're going to go from E to F, okay? Well, in F, our 5 chord is a C, okay? So what we're going to hit is a C7 to lead us to F. But we're in the key of E. So let's figure out something. C has C, E, and G in it. E has E, G sharp, and B. Notice they both have an E in them. So that makes it an easy transition because we have a common note that's in both chords, okay? So we're going to go from E to C7 to F. This is a half-step key change. And also I want to tell you another trick, another little tip. When you're doing a half-step key change, your 5 of the next key is always 2 whole steps down. So let me say that a little bit differently. If you're in the key of E, if you walk down 2 whole steps, that takes you to a C, which leads you to the key of F. Okay, so I'm going to show you that transition. E, okay, let's do that with a different key. We're going to go from G to A. Excuse me, we're talking about half steps. G to A flat. So A flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your 5 is an E flat. That happens to be 2 whole steps down from G. Okay, that's true with any half-step key change. Let's say we went from D to E flat. Walk down 2 whole steps. That leads you straight to B flat 7 and to E flat. Any half-step key change, you can use that pattern. Walk down 2 whole steps, that's the 5 of the key you are going to. Always, 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 any half-step key change. Now I'd like to talk about another popular key change, which is a whole step key change. Today's musicians are playing in sharp keys more than they are flat keys, so you may not want to play in E flat or F. You may want to play from G to A or D to E. You may not want to do any half-step key changes. So there's a pattern for that one as well. Let's say we're going to go from G to A. Well, your 5 of A is E. It's a step and a half down. Instead of 2 whole steps, it's a step and a half. So you just walk down to E from G. Okay, let's do D to E. We're going to walk down a step and a half to B. So that's true with any whole step key change. You walk down a step and a half, that leads you to the 5 of the key you're going to, that's a whole step higher. Always true. That helps you remember, if you can't think of what it is, you know you can walk down a step and a half, and that'll always be true. And again, you can use that in the middle of a song. So say for the second verse, you want to go up a whole step, or from song to song. If one song's in G and you're going to go to A for the next song, or whatever key you might be in. Well, let's talk a little bit about a key signature, a key change that doesn't lend itself to being a smooth transition. Say you're going to go from E to G, which there's not a common note in the 5/7 chord of G that would lead you from E to help you to get to G. So there might be a different way to get there. So what I want you to think about is where you end in E and the first note you're going to be singing in G. And let's say it's going to be a B. Okay, the first note you're going to sing, the first melody note you're going to sing in the key of G will be a B. So we want to get from E to that B. So we're just going to do a partial scale that will lead us there. We're not going to do a transitional chord like we've been doing. This one's going to be a little bit different. So let's say we're in E. Did was partial E scale to that B, and when I got there on the B, I hit the G chord. Let me show you one more time. So those are some different transitions that you can use to get from one key to the next and just keep it flowing. And again, you want to make sure that your transition is long enough that it's easy to follow. You know, you're not going to expect your worship leader to be able to go and start singing that B as soon as you hit the G chord. They're not going to hear that. You're going to have to establish the key of G before they can start singing. So when you get to G, you just want to keep the rhythm going and maybe give them a little turnaround chord like the 4/5 that will lead them when to start singing. So I hope that these tips today have helped you to know how to keep the flow going during transitions during worship. And if you have any questions or you'd like more information, please check out my website, pianodana.com. Send me a message on Facebook, right on my wall on Facebook, or send me an email. My email address is available on my website. I'd love to hear from you and find out how this has worked for you, if you were able to use it in a worship service, or if you have any questions. Either way, give me a call or give me an email or a shout out on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Thanks for watching.